They didn't just want money, they wanted the city. And in New York, you don't share the throne, you take it. New York has always been more than streets, buildings, and bright lights. It is power. It is money. It is control. In Power Legacy. Season 1, the city becomes a prize once again, but this time the fight is different. This is not just gang versus gang. This is old blood versus new ambition. This is the cartel versus the mafia. For years, the mafia ruled New York with quiet control. They owned the docks, the unions, the construction deals, the waste companies. Their power was not loud. It was built slowly over decades. Families trusted families. Deals were sealed with handshakes. Loyalty meant everything. The streets respected the name. Fear was earned, not forced. But time changes everything. The world became faster, smarter, more connected, and wilder. Mafia stayed loyal to tradition. A new force was rising beyond the borders of the city. The cartel was not built on tradition. It was built on expansion. They did not care about history. They cared about growth. They moved product across countries like it was nothing. They used technology, fast money transfers, and global connections to them. New York was not sacred ground. It was opportunity. When Season 1 begins, something important has already happened. The balance of power is weak. The old leadership that kept the peace is gone. And with that absence comes silence. Dangerous silence. In the Underworld, silence does not mean calm. It means people are planning. Crews begin to move differently. Meetings happen behind closed doors. Old alliances feel uncertain. Everyone senses that something big is coming. But no one wants to make the first mistake. The mafia believes the city still belongs to them. After all, their roots run deep. Judges owe them favors. Politicians know their names. Even some police officers grew up in neighborhoods where the mafia paid for street repairs and local festivals. That kind of control does not disappear overnight. But the cartel sees cracks. They see aging leaders. They see younger members who are tired of waiting for their turn. They see greed hiding behind tradition, and they decide this is the moment to move. At first, it is quiet. A new supplier appears in Brooklyn. A shipment goes missing at the port. A small crew in Queens suddenly switches allegiance. Nothing loud, nothing dramatic, but every small move is a test. The cartel is checking the borders. They are watching how the mafia reacts. And when the mafia responds, it is slow, careful. Almost too careful. Because the mafia does not rush. They believe in patience. They believe that outsiders never survive long in New York. Many have tried before. All have failed. But this time feels different. The cartel is not asking for permission. They are not looking for peace. They are looking for territory. And territory in New York means everything. It means cash flow every single day. It means power over neighborhoods. It means control over fear. As rumors spread, tension builds. Small street crews are forced to choose sides. Some stay loyal to the mafia out of respect. Others look at the cartel's fast money and see a better future. The city starts to divide quietly. Conversations become shorter. Trust becomes thinner. Even within the mafia families, whispers begin. Are they still strong enough to hold the line? Or has the world passed them by on the other side? The cartel leadership studies the city like a chessboard. They do not move without a reason. They do not show emotion. To them, this is business. If they take New York, they take the East Coast. If they take the East Coast, they change the entire game. And so the stage is set. No bullets yet. No public war. Just pressure. Just strategy. Just two empires staring at each other across the skyline, waiting for someone to blink. Because in New York, there is room for many players, but only one. Ruler. The war begins the moment the balance of power is broken. In New York, every neighborhood, every block, every corner has a history, and when leadership falters, opportunity appears. Season 1 of Power Legacy shows us exactly how fragile control can be. The old leadership of the mafia had kept the streets in a tense balance. Deals were honored, rivalries kept in check, and territory was respected. But when that leadership collapsed, whether through arrests, betrayal, or sudden deaths. The vacuum was immediate. Silence fell over the streets, but it was not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that makes people watch their backs. The kind that hides whispered conversations and secret alliances. Both the Mafia and the Cartel recognize this gap immediately, but they approach it in completely different ways. The Mafia moves slowly. Every decision is calculated, every ally checked twice. They rely on networks they have built over decades. Trusted enforcers, political contacts, and longtime street bosses. The Cartel moves differently. They are fast, aggressive, and willing to take risks. They rely on outside connections, international contacts, and technology that allows them to see opportunities the Mafia cannot. Small moves begin to appear across the city. The Cartel tests the waters first. A small shipment arrives late, unexplained. A small crew in the Bronx is paid more than ever to switch sides. A back alley meeting is ambushed. A message left for the old bosses, nothing overt, but everything is noticed. The Mafia reacts, but their reaction is measured. They send a few trusted lieutenants to investigate, to intimidate, to remind the streets that they are still in charge. But the Cartel is already anticipating these moves. They are watching carefully. Every reaction is noted, every weakness recorded. They are learning the game. Faster than the old bosses can adjust. As the weeks pass, these small maneuvers escalate. Cartel-controlled shipments arrive on Mafia territory. Street crews begin to defect quietly. Money flows differently. New alliances are whispered about in dark corners. Law enforcement notices a slight uptick in activity, but nothing major. The Mafia's patience begins to show cracks. Younger members are frustrated with the slow pace. They see the Cartel taking territory, gaining influence, and they begin to question loyalty. Inside the Cartel, leadership remains calm but ruthless. They are aware of the old Mafia's reputation for patience and cunning, but they see it as a weakness in a fast-moving world. They push forward, not with brute force yet, but with subtle disruption. Supply lines, financial manipulation, and psychological pressure. Tensions rise in every borough. Business owners begin to notice unusual visitors. Deliveries change hands, and old protections become unreliable. Civilians feel it too. A general unease spreads across the city. Even simple things like traffic patterns or minor street violence become signs of something bigger brewing. Every character on the streets begins to feel the pressure. The Cartel is not just invading territory. They are rewriting the rules. The Mafia must respond, but every move they make now carries risk. A wrong decision could cost them not just territory, but life. Families argue quietly over strategy. Loyal enforcers wonder if they are following leaders who cannot adapt. Political contacts start sending warnings instead of favors, and all the while, the Cartel watches, learning, waiting for the first major strike. By the time violence begins, the groundwork has been laid. Small disruptions have tested reactions, loyalties have been questioned, and the city is already divided. The war did not start with guns. It started with strategy, manipulation, and a deep understanding of what New York truly represents: control. Whoever missteps first will pay the price, and in this city, the cost of miscalculation is death. Every shipment hijacked, every street crew flipped, every subtle betrayal is part of a plan designed to weaken the Mafia's hold without triggering a full-scale war too early. But the tension grows until it is unbearable. Both sides know that. Sooner or later, patience will run out, and when it does, the streets themselves will erupt into chaos. The war over New York City, it seems, is not just about power. It is about timing, psychology, and the ability to adapt. Whoever understands the city's hidden rules first has the advantage. And in this silent, tense period before the bullets fly, that advantage may already belong to the Cartel. The Cartel moves like a shadow over New York, silent but everywhere at once. Unlike the Mafia, they do not rely on tradition, respect, or long-standing alliances. Their power comes from speed, intelligence, and fear, not the kind of fear born from respect. but the fear born from unpredictability. Every decision they make is calculated to break the old order while expanding their own influence. In Brooklyn, a shipment is rerouted without warning, bypassing the old checkpoints the Mafia once controlled. In Queens, a street crew finds themselves suddenly paid double to handle a delivery with instructions that only the cartel could enforce. The message is clear. The rules have changed. The cartel does not negotiate. They do not ask. They take what they want and make it clear that anyone who challenges them will pay the price. Their leadership is unlike anything the city has seen. The kingpin does not walk among the streets publicly, nor does he need to. Decisions flow through a network of lieutenants who are disciplined, loyal, and ruthless. Every move is recorded, analyzed, and used to tighten their grip. Technology becomes a weapon. Surveillance cameras, encrypted communications, GPS tracking. Every tool of the modern world is used to outmaneuver the Mafia, who still relies on face-to-face meetings, phone calls, and personal trust. The cartel's young enforcers are not just fighters. They are students of strategy. Those tired of waiting for inheritance or promotions within the Mafia start to see the cartel as the future. Meanwhile, the cartel's financial moves are just as strategic. They do not just take territory, they control money. Illegal trades are rerouted through their channels. Businesses, both legitimate and underground, are pressured to align. Debt, bribery, and intimidation all become tools to convert influence into obedience. But their expansion is not chaotic. Every strike is intentional. Every defection, every disrupted shipment, every shift in the streets is part of a larger plan to weaken the Mafia's grip while consolidating power in the cartel's hands. There is a long-term vision that goes beyond New York, beyond the boroughs and neighborhoods, stretching to the ports, the highways, and eventually the East Coast. And yet, despite their ruthless efficiency, the cartel understands the value of subtlety. Unlike the Mafia, which relies on fear as a display of strength, the cartel uses fear as a quiet pressure. They destabilize without showing all their power. A sudden loss of a shipment, a crew disappearing overnight, a silent assassination, all serve to unsettle the old guard and make them question their own control within the cartel. There is no room for hesitation. Every lieutenant knows their role and every operation is executed with precision. Mistakes are punished, loyalty is enforced, and the chain of command is absolute. This disciplined approach allows them to exploit the weaknesses of the Mafia, who are still trying to understand how a force so modern, so unpredictable, can move so efficiently in a city that has resisted change for decades. And while the cartel's methods are efficient, they are not purely violent. Manipulation, bribery, and strategic partnerships play a huge role. Allies in law enforcement, corrupt officials, and street-level informants provide information and cover. Every move is measured to create maximum disruption with minimal exposure. Their expansion is systematic, almost surgical. Neighborhoods are brought under influence one block at a time. Crews are tested with small tasks. Loyalty is evaluated. And resistance is removed quietly but decisively. And as they continue to grow, the cartel's presence becomes undeniable. The streets whisper about them. Shopkeepers and residents feel the shift. The old respect for the Mafia begins to fade, replaced with fear and uncertainty. The message is simple. New York is changing, and the cartel is in control of the future. In this methodical, relentless way, the cartel begins to reshape the underworld. They are not just fighting the Mafia. They are teaching the city a new lesson. Tradition can be challenged, loyalty can be bought, and power belongs to those who adapt fastest. Every move they make strengthens their hold and pushes the old guard closer to desperation. And in this quiet, calculated war, the cartel demonstrates that in modern crime, innovation and intelligence are more dangerous than brute force alone. The Mafia, unlike the cartel, is built on tradition, loyalty, and reputation. Their power in New York has been established over decades, sometimes over a century, and it runs deep. They understand the streets in a way outsiders cannot. Knowing which neighborhoods will rise in rebellion, which crews can be trusted, and which families will follow orders without question. This old-school structure is both their strength and their weakness. The Don sits at the center of a vast network, surrounded by trusted captains, advisors, and enforcers. Every action is filtered through this hierarchy, ensuring that mistakes are minimized and the family's legacy is protected. But it also makes them slower to act. Decisions are debated, alliances reconsidered, and punishments weighed carefully before being delivered. When the cartel first makes its moves, the Mafia notices, but they are cautious. They do not overreact. They send scouts, trusted lieutenants, to observe the new players, to gauge their strength, and to understand their strategy. The Mafia is confident that their roots will hold, that their connections in politics, law enforcement, and business will provide cover, and that any outsider trying to take over New York will eventually fail. At first, this patience seems like a strength. The cartel hits a few minor shipments, disrupts a couple of street crews, and the Mafia responds with measured precision. They enforce discipline quietly, sending warnings rather than open displays of violence, reminding everyone that the family still rules. But the cartel is not an ordinary opponent. They are adaptive, innovative, and unafraid to bend the rules of engagement. They do not rely on fear alone, but on speed, technology, and strategy that the Mafia cannot always anticipate. Over time, the pressure begins to show cracks. Younger Mafia members become impatient, questioning why they must wait for permission while the cartel expands so quickly. Some start to defect, tempted by higher pay, faster action, or promises of a bigger future. This internal strain is the Mafia's hidden danger. Loyalty is sacred, but it is not unbreakable, and the cartel knows exactly where to apply pressure. The Mafia's strength is also in its knowledge of the city. They know which neighborhoods are loyal, which streets are safe, and which networks will resist invasion. They use this to their advantage, attempting to cut off the cartel's supply lines, intercept shipments, and reclaim lost territory. Political connections are activated. Judges, police officers, and city officials who owe favors are called upon to stall investigations or provide cover. The Don's presence is felt, even without him walking the streets. But the cartel has anticipated some of these moves. They use speed and unpredictability to bypass traditional obstacles, sometimes turning the Mafia's own networks against them. The contrast between the two sides becomes stark. One relies on history, reputation, and patience. The other relies on speed, innovation, and fear. And in this clash, the Mafia's greatest challenge becomes clear: tradition, once a shield, is slowing them down. Their hierarchy, designed to prevent mistakes, limits their ability to react to the fast-moving, modern approach of the cartel. Within the family, tensions rise. Captains argue over strategy. Soldiers question loyalty. Advisors debate whether to strike now or wait. Every decision carries enormous weight because one misstep could cost the family territory, money, or even lives. Despite the growing pressure, the Mafia still has advantages. Their network is vast, built over generations. Their knowledge of the city is unmatched. They have loyal enforcers who will fight to the death, and their reputation still commands respect. Neighbors, crews, and even some street-level players hesitate to cross them outright. The Mafia also understands that power is not only about fear, it is about influence. They manipulate public perception, leverage financial pressure, and use the law to protect what is theirs. In these early stages of war, the Mafia's approach is deliberate. They are like a predator waiting to strike, patient and observant. But the cartel is changing the rules. The traditional methods of intimidation, political influence, and reputation building are being challenged by aggression, technology, and speed. For the first time, the streets see that the old order might not be untouchable. And as the war escalates quietly, the Mafia realizes that survival is no longer guaranteed by loyalty or history alone. They must adapt, or they will be replaced. The tension builds not just in open battles, but in boardrooms, dark alleys, and quiet meetings. Every decision is a test, every alliance fragile. And in this world, the Mafia faces a dilemma they have not faced in generations: how to defend centuries of tradition against a force that does not respect rules, heritage, or fear. In these calculated moves, the old and the new collide. And New York becomes more than a city. It becomes a battlefield, where legacy alone is not enough to survive. The first real bloodshed changes everything. Until this point, the war between the cartel and the mafia has been strategic, calculated, a game of chess played across the streets and boardrooms of New York. Small disruptions, missing shipments, subtle betrayals, these were the warnings. But when the first assassination occurs, it is a shockwave that ripples through every borough, every crew, and every family. The streets feel it instantly. Rumors spread faster than the actual event. People whisper about who was taken, who ordered it, and what it means for their own safety. For the mafia, it is a test of control. Their lieutenants scramble to investigate, to send messages of retaliation, to show that they are still in charge. But the cartel anticipated this. They knew exactly how the mafia would react, and they planned the strike to maximize fear and confusion while minimizing immediate retaliation. The victim is not just a soldier. It is someone symbolic, someone whose death sends a clear message. New York is no longer under the old rules. Retaliation is swift, but it is also messy. The mafia attempts to strike back, targeting a minor cartel operative in Brooklyn. But the operation is clumsy. The cartel's network is tighter, more disciplined, and better protected. The hit fails, and instead, the mafia suffers unexpected losses. Civilians are caught in the crossfire. A corner store is burned down, a delivery van is shot, and a stray bullet kills someone unrelated to the war. The city starts to notice. News reports mention a sudden increase in gang violence, but no one names the organizations involved. Fear spreads among local business owners, street crews, and residents. The war is no longer confined to hidden deals and whispered threats. It has entered public spaces.